Well, hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Canada and how, for some reason, we love to kill people here. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the beginning of the last days. My name is Laura-Lynn Thompson, and I love doing my very most favorite thing, being right here with you. Of course, my very most favorite thing is being with Jesus, and then my very is to be with my husband, JT. Always like to say that. And then, and my family. And then it's to be with you. You are top of my list. I love you guys so much. And I love hearing from all of you who are sending me letters and very kind prayers for us. So, you know, I love to start the show by reading from my father's Bible, and he left me this treasure 3 years ago. He went to be with Jesus. And I open it up to the story today, ironically, because we're going to be talking about MAID and what Canada is doing to people who are depressed, mentally unhealthy, and just helping people to die. You see, Jesus was in the business of helping people to live abundantly. And so in the story in John 11, what had happened was Lazarus had died. So my dad, he has started, he's underlined like so much of this story. And it says in verse 20, then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him. But Mary sat still in the house. I wonder why, eh? Martha ran to Jesus. Mary sat still. Remember, Mary was the one who just sat at the feet of Jesus, and Martha was the one making all the dinner and complaining that no one was helping her. I'm usually the one who's sitting at the feet of Jesus. I used to tell my mom that. I'm just sitting at the feet of Jesus. All right, so then Martha... Then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, whatsoever you will ask of God, God will give it to you. Jesus said unto her, your brother shall rise again. So my dad, he is just, this whole story in John 11 is so amazing. Jesus is about helping people to live. God wants us to live, and it is his decision and should be his decision alone when man is to go. And I'll tell you a personal story is that when my father was getting into his last final days, we were given a bunch of medications at our house and ordered, but my doctor did not fill the prescription because she knew how we felt. Ordered in all of those prescriptions was the kill shot. And she told us, she said, that shot, that's going to just do your dad in as soon as you give him that. And we said no. We were with him for several days. He was definitely, you know, his body was shutting down. We sang, we played music for him. We watched Fox News for him, even though he wasn't really, you know, responding. But we didn't give him the kill shot because his time to go was God's decision, not ours. And so at home, we only once gave him a little medication for, seemed like, you know, maybe some comfort, but that was 3 days prior. We never gave him another shot. We just let it have its course. We comforted him. We stood with him. And I remember in the final days, my dad just sort of, he would lie in bed and he would look up at the ceiling and he would lift his hand as if he was waving at someone. And it was so strange and beautiful. And we knew heaven was calling him. But we knew that the moment that he was going to be with Jesus was God's decision, not me and my brothers. And we never gave him the kill shot. We just honored God's will. And my dad went peacefully and beautifully with worship music playing. And it was a great memory Although difficult, it was so beautiful. So what they're doing now is if somebody's going through a tough time, they want to take you out. And somebody has been following this for a long time because in 1998, he started an organization called Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. Way back in 1998. Way back, he saw this coming. His name is Alex Schadenberg, and he's one of the world's premier opponents of euthanasia and assisted suicide. He's the co-founder and executive director of Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. Alex has traveled the world speaking about this issue, authored countless opinion columns, and moderates the world's most widely read blog devoted to this issue. Alex, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for standing up for life in this country, because there's crazy things happening. People get depressed, yes, and they're offering them MAID.
These are crazy things that are happening, and in fact, the whole law, which I opposed from the beginning, because of course I oppose killing people. The whole law has gone really crazy in Canada, and there's been a lot of stories lately. For instance, several weeks ago, there was a report that came out of Ontario from the Ontario Coroner's Office reporting on, and it looked at the MAID deaths or the euthanasia deaths in Ontario, but it also then pointed out 6 cases. Now, someone might say 6 cases, Alex, there's been like 22,000 in Ontario. What's the big deal about 6 cases? Well, first of all, 6 represented many cases that fulfilled those same sort of parameters, but it showed you what's going on in our MAID laws and in fact euthanasia laws. We're actually killing people who are poor. We're killing people who are, needing proper care. We're killing people who are going through mental health issues. You can have euthanasia in Canada for mental health issues so long as you have another health condition at the same time. So these are just, it's gone crazy in our country, and I'm very upset by all this.
Well, I'm upset too, because this is going to affect our family. For instance, what if you have a teenager that goes through a difficult breakup? We've all been teenagers, and you feel like you want to die because you got rejected by that boy, or, something isn't going right, and maybe you're being bullied. And in that season and moment of life, if somebody in authority is telling you, you don't have to take this, and you can just take this other path and it'll all be over. That will be a temptation for some people. And this drives me insane. It's a culture of death.
Well, there was the very sad story out of Calgary of the 27-year-old autistic woman, and you might have read that story. She lives with her parents, and she had applied for and was approved for euthanasia. She was supposed to die on February 1st this year, but instead her dad went to court, and he challenged the decision. He said, there's actually nothing wrong with my daughter. My daughter does not have an irremediable medical condition. She's sadly, she's going through suicidal ideation, and absolutely she's autistic, but she's not in any way sick or dying in any way. And the judge actually showed some concern, and the case has sort of been sitting there sort of ever since. Sadly, the case is coming up again because the same young woman is now asking for euthanasia again, even though clearly she's not sick. She doesn't have any medical conditions to qualify her. But you see, in Canada, you don't have to be terminally ill. And so right off the bat, these deaths come through in a very serious way. There was a case just recently in British Columbia, and that was the case of a woman whose husband then intervened. Well, common law husband intervened because he said that his wife certainly was going through some health difficulties, etc. And there was multiple issues related to that, but she was clearly not, she did not have a terminal condition in any way. But he also challenged the decision of the doctor. He challenged how this Dr. Ellen Weeb in Vancouver made the decision to approve that his death could be then given to him by lethal injection. And so this has been really a terrible situation, but it also shows the world what happens when you say in law that it's okay to kill somebody, that they say, oh, this would only be for the few cases. But in fact, as much as I'm opposed to killing anybody, I'm not opposed to natural death, of course, I'm opposed to killing people. The fact of it is it goes right out of control. And that's what we've seen in Canada.
Alex, how does Canada compare to other countries in the world with the amount of euthanasia that we employ?
Yeah, well, the euthanasia deaths has gone up incredibly fast in Canada. So, for instance, the Netherlands legalized euthanasia in 2001, and it came into place in January 1st, 2002. So it's been there in the Netherlands a very, very long time. And in the Netherlands, approximately 5% of all deaths are euthanasia. And they also have, a lot of very sad stories out of the Netherlands of decisions that were made to kill people. I should jump to remind people that euthanasia is about killing people. It is about homicide. Canada legalized euthanasia by creating an exception in the criminal code to homicide. So a doctor or a nurse practitioner can kill you, and it is about killing you. That's what it's about. It's not about anything else. People want to call it other things to make them feel comfortable about it, but that's what it is. So anyway, the Netherlands, in well over 20 years, they're now at about 5% of all deaths being euthanasia, whereas Canada legalized in 2016, and we're at about the same rate now, about 5% of all deaths. Quebec has the highest euthanasia rate in the world. In 2023, it was 7.3% of all deaths. But the crazy thing is not only the number of deaths, but the kind of deaths we're having, like these cases of people who are homeless. The situation around, a soldier serving our country and and coming back, experiencing PTSD and being told by Veterans Affairs, well, have you considered medical assistance in dying? Well, think about that. Someone who served your country is told, have you considered medical assistance in dying, when he's actually seeking help? Like the story you had up earlier about Christine Gauthier. Christine Gauthier served our country in the military. She became injured while serving our country in the military. So now she has a wheelchair, right? She became a Paralympian. And now she's saying she needs a wheelchair ramp. And Veterans Affairs says, madam, if it's that bad, we can give you medical aid in dying. This is the kind of thing that we have in our country. And it's gone totally out of control.
Well, it makes me wonder what's going on. Like, this is an evil culture, I guess.
Yep.
Greed. People feel that, well, there'll be less taxes on, it's less taxing on the medical system, and somehow they justify this to just get rid of people.
Well, it's a mixture of philosophical beliefs, because there's certain doctors and people involved in promoting this who think that this is a good thing, and they're all for it, and they say, oh, it's your right, you should be able to have this is your right. And then there's the other group, and that's a whole other thing, because a lot of people have fear. And when you're caring for your dad as he's approaching death, he might have had some fear. Now, I know he had great faith, so that's a gift, but the fact of it is that he might have had fear. But the fact is when you're having fear, you need to have friends and family and others who are going to journey with you, who are going to care about you, because, that's what you need. You don't need to be killed. What you need is a significant community who cares about you. That's what you need. And that's what the culture is really missing. I talk about the culture, and I recognize that we have a lot of loneliness in our culture. There's a lot of people going through difficult times, and they're doing so alone, and they're lonely, and it's hard on them. I understand that, but killing them is not the answer. Killing them is not the answer. And this is what we're getting to. The fact of it is this recent case I mentioned earlier in BC about the case of Dr. Weeb approving a euthanasia death of somebody, and then the husband getting involved. Well, common law husband getting involved, and really he was quite upset because he's saying, well, she doesn't qualify. She doesn't have she's recovering from a condition. That's correct. Anyway, it really asks the question, well, how could these decisions be made? These are life and death decisions, right? These are pretty serious. And how could some doctor think that this is acceptable? And so you realize, well, some of them actually think it's a good idea. They really like it. Your life is not safe in a culture that thinks it's okay to kill. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we're experiencing. Now, There is one good thing about the situation. There's only one good thing about the situation. Right now in the UK, they're debating legalizing assisted suicide. And, if that were to happen, like the UK is a fairly large country, that would mean a lot of deaths. Okay. So it's anywhere where they legalize this, that would be pretty horrific. But I mean, this is where they're really debating it right now, is in the UK. And, the stories out of Canada are actually making them think twice. And that's what's important. As bad as it is in Canada, we need to stop what's going on in Canada. The fact of it is that this horrific experience that we're having in our country with killing people is at least creating a pause in places like the UK and Ireland and Scotland.
Isn't that wonderful? I thought it was interesting that you brought up this fear factor, that people who are close, and near to death, of course, it's the unknown, and they would be fearful, especially without faith, especially without a strong faith. They might have found Jesus even in the, a lot of people do. They suddenly go, okay, eternity's here, and they find Jesus, but they haven't had a life of building in faith. And my dad had, so he never expressed that at all. He in fact once told me that he was looking forward to that moment when his body would his soul would be leaving his body, and he says, I'm going to be paying attention to every single thing that happens. And he was waiting. He was such a unique man, he was really fearless in so many ways. But I think you're right. I think that our culture, first of all, we promote the fear of death, and so many people are more afraid of death than speaking publicly, actually.
Yes.
But so we promote this fear of death, and then at the last moment we capitalize on it. And I'm just wondering, like, if they actually take a life, there's probably incentive for that for hospitals. I don't know. I mean, it's just like what we went through in this last 4 years, where hospitals got so much money if they got someone on a ventilator or if they used remdesivir. What do you think about that? Like, is there monetary incentives that you know of?
There are some monetary incentives, but more so it is about, though, they would say they're eliminating suffering, but in reality, people who are dead don't cost money in the healthcare system. So that's absolutely true, and that is a reality. I want to bring some hope, though. Like, a lot of this is very negative, and I find all these stories. Like, I write about this stuff every day. I'm involved in these issues constantly. But I have to bring some hope because, I'm also involved in the issues around the U.S. And in the U.S., there are 10 states that have legalized assisted suicide. So that's very sad. And California is one of them. And as you know, California, there's as many people living in California as live in Canada. So that's a pretty large, state, large jurisdiction. But nonetheless, in the last 3 years, no new state has legalized assisted suicide in the U.S. So, this argument, oh, well, there's this tidal wave of support for assisted dying. And yet, the assisted suicide lobby in the U.S. has worked very hard and poured millions of dollars into their attempt to legalize assisted suicide. They had 23 bills in 2023, 23 bills in 2023 in different states that had not legalized it. And all of those bills ended up being, in the end, stopped, prevented, defeated. That shows you actually where the people are. And I think that has also a lot to do with how things have shifted because they're recognizing what's going on in Canada. And I think the Canadian stories, like, we have a lot of work to do here in Canada,
Yes.
but at least others are recognizing the horror of what's happening in our country. And you can't deny that this has been pretty sad, what we've done in our country in the whole area of killing around euthanasia.
Very sad. I'm wondering, how did you start this organization that we have up on the screen here? How did you know this was a problem in 1998? Like, I see in 2022 that we had a 30% rise or something in the killing of people medically. But how did 1998? How did you see this coming?
Well, people who are older will remember that in 1993, you had the case of Sue Rodriguez go to the Supreme Court of Canada. And then after Sue Rodriguez was turned down by the Supreme Court of Canada, they said, no, we're not going to legalize euthanasia, assisted suicide. You had the death of Tracy Latimer. Her dad, Robert Latimer, killed her by gassing her in the cab of the truck. And he claimed that he had to do this because his daughter was suffering. But, there's actually an interconnection between the two cases because, you're talking about a decision made by the Supreme Court and then a few weeks later, a killing by a dad of a disabled girl. But you see, in the 90s, Canada was debating this. This was an issue in Canada. There was bills that were being brought forward in our parliament. But on top of it, my wife and I had an autistic son. And that really got us involved in the Autism Society. And it just sort of rung a bell in my head that there is something really different about how we treat people with disabilities in our country than how we treat other able-bodied people. And I recognize that if we were to legalize euthanasia, this would be a great threat to these people. And this was my great concern. And, and everyone said, oh, that would never happen, Alex. I mean, we might legalize euthanasia, but oh, no, they would never be doing this to people with disabilities. But if you look at our country now, a lot of the people dying by these track 2 cases, meaning that they're not terminally ill, track 2 cases of euthanasia, a lot of them are people with disabilities, with chronic conditions. And what are they saying? I don't have a place to live. I'm living in poverty. I can't live like this anymore. I feel abandoned. I've got no friends in my life. We have a helpline, the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition, and people call that helpline. And I've dealt with quite a few calls of people who have been approved for euthanasia. And almost always, after describing their health conditions and their concerns about their health conditions, they always say, but I'm alone. Or they say, I find no meaning in my life. And I'm thinking, you need a friend. You don't need someone to kill you. You need a friend. You need someone who actually cares about you, who says, your life's important to me, who's willing to spend time with you, because that's what we need as human beings. Now, I will comment about your other comment about people of faith. People of faith are just as human as anybody else, right? So we all go through difficulties in life, and we have to remember a lot of the people who are asking for their life to be ended, they're not necessarily fully mentally competent, even though the law would require that. They're going through difficult times emotionally and psychologically, and they might be going through existential suffering too. This is sort of a normal human reality. Like the sad thing about the exciting thing about being human is that we're very complicated beings. The sad thing is that sometimes we go through very difficult times, and we need the support of the community, because sometimes we're so lost that we need someone else to help us.
Wow. I just absolutely appreciate what you guys are doing and your heart for this entire issue. Thank you so much for investing your life in this.
Thank
I
you.
want to
I'm
ask
very happy.
Alex. Yeah, I want to ask, like, who can call? Okay, let's say somebody's father or mother would like to die. Would a family be able to reach out to you guys for ideas on how to help the person in their life that really wants to give up?
Yeah, so we get calls all the time about that. We do have a direct helpline, but also we have our office helpline, which is 1-877-439-3348. 1-877-439-3348. It's not on the screen, but anyway, but we get calls all the time. People refer to us. We also have another thing. We have a card that says right on it, community care help, and we provide advice and help for people. But the thing of it is that we all go through these difficult times. The problem with legalizing euthanasia is it affected all of us. People would say, oh, it only affects the vulnerable. But we're all vulnerable at times in our life, right? It's not about me having a wheelchair or me being 94 years old or something. It's about me going through a very difficult time in my life, and I become very vulnerable because of who I am as a human being. And this is the problem that we lose here, is the nature of the human person. So somehow killing becomes the solution to problems that are best solved by caring for other people. But what it does is it turns everything upside down. It turns the whole thought process about what it means to be human, it goes upside down. When is it okay to kill someone? To me, I don't have the right to kill you. I never have the right to kill you, but I do have the obligation to care for you.
Do you know what drives me crazy though, Alex, is that our government gives millions of dollars to people across the world. We help people to have abortions in Africa. We give millions of dollars, to wars in other places. And yet we are not taking care of our own people who are struggling they get to such a bad place, in such a depression, that they might feel that MAID is the only answer. And then they're getting this pressure, from people.
Well, it's actually even worse than what you're saying, because in every major hospital in Canada, other than the religiously based ones, there's a MAID team. So what has happened in our country is they've decided that because it's a legal option, that therefore also it should be an option that everyone knows about. So if you are in the hospital and you're going through a difficult health condition, you might have someone actually come to your door and say, oh, by the way, I'm with the MAID team. I'm wondering if you want to die. Well, they're not going to say it that way, but sure, I'm getting to. And so they're actually not only doing the act, this MAID team, they're selling the act. They're making sure that people not only know about it, they're making sure that they know that they can have it. And by the way, we can fill out the paperwork right now with you and get it done. This is the kind of thing we have going on. And that's one of the reasons why we have so many deaths. So they're putting a lot of money into the whole concept of killing someone. The crazy thing about this is that we've got these massive waiting lines for basic treatment. We have these stories going on in Canada where people had to wait for their cancer treatment, and they had to wait weeks and weeks to receive their treatment. So they go to the oncologist, they get they're told, oh, they're tested, they know that this is the kind of cancer they have, they're told it's treatable, and then they wait and they wait and they wait, and they're still on the waiting list. And then finally they say, oh, no, I'm in a lot of pain now, I'd rather die by euthanasia. So guess what? Dying by euthanasia, suddenly you don't have to cure their cancer, they don't have to pay for anything. But the fact of it is it's a system driving them to death, and it's pretty insane. This is it's not about caring. When this was originally legalized, they sold it to us that this would be it's all about competent adults, and we're going to provide them this option, be only about free choice. And what have we seen? We've seen people being driven towards this. So it's all about the big lie. I also say, We sell death and we say, oh, it's only for these few cases. These people really want to die. We're providing them an option. It's the big lie. What it is it is about killing. It's about selling killing. It's about getting involved with promoting killing. It's also abandonment. Someone's having clear needs. Well, it might be more difficult to take care of their needs. So, well, we'll kill them. That's legal. We'll do that. Oh, they asked for it, so it's okay. Well, you put me in a bad enough place. Maybe not me, but I mean, most people, you put them in a bad enough place. Yeah, they might be asking to be killed. Yeah.
Yes, we're all human and we struggle with these things. Is
Absolutely.
the numbers going up every year then? Like I saw this article about 2022. There was it went up. So every year we're just seeing this
Right.
go up,
So
rise,
the
rise,
government has
rise.
actually been very tardy in releasing the data. So, for instance, we're later in 2024, and we still have not seen the federal government's 2023 data, which is insane. But I
Wow.
have done a lot of work on that. So I've done a lot of access to information, collecting information from the provinces, from the healthcare departments, and I have found out that we probably had somewhere in the range of 15,300 euthanasia deaths in 2023, which was up by approximately 2,000 more than in 2022. But these are massive numbers of deaths, and the fact of it is that we're finding that this is becoming now the more likely way of dying for certain people, and whereas we are losing our whole concept of caring for people. Now, I'm going to make one other comment. Good palliative care is needed in the culture. Absolutely. Good end of life care. If I'm going through significant symptoms, a physician or nurse who's trained in dealing with those symptoms and painful
Yes.
symptoms, that's a blessing. It allows you to,
Pain,
lessen that
like
pain,
getting rid
the
of pain is important.
pain,
I
and other
pray
physical
for
symptoms.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But euthanasia is now causes to have less excellent palliative care in Canada. And the reason is that, they're pressuring doctors to participate. So a lot of our good doctors and nurses who were well trained in caring for people at the end of life have left that field. They've said, I can't be involved in that field. I don't believe in killing people. But then the second thing that's happened, which is very horrific, is how we fund euthanasia. So they say we've increased funding for palliative care, but it's not true. It's not true at all, because the codes, so, in Canadian healthcare system, it's universal healthcare. We have billing codes. Those billing codes are palliative care billing codes. So it's pretty horrific that when their governments are saying, oh, well, we've increased end of life care funding, we've increased funding for palliative care, that in fact, no, you have provided euthanasia, is what you've done. You actually haven't improved your palliative care at all.
Wow. I totally get it. Thank you for your involvement in all of this, and we just really appreciate it. We're going to send everyone to your site so that if they're having something going on in their life that has to do with this, they can give you a call at that 1-800 number you've got there.
Or they can
Yeah.
email me at info@epcc.ca.
Oh, I see that at the top as
info@epcc.ca.
well.
If
Info
you
at
email me,
EPCC.
that's
Yeah.
maybe the easier way, and I'm happy to respond and help you out. So
Okay, that is wonderful. Alex, thank you for being someone who stands up for people being able to live and to find ways to make sure that we can live well rather
yeah,
than offering the
yeah,
the
and
death
thank you for
cult.
being willing to talk about it, because so few people today are willing to talk about it.
That's very sad. I don't even understand that. And I know everything that's good in life right now is bad, and what's bad is good. Like the world is upside down on so many
That's right.
different issues. This is
It's
an important issue, and this is affecting our families. Our
Yeah, when
loved
everything's
ones.
upside down, it's so hard to see the real truth. But that's
Right.
why I'm glad that you're willing to have a show about it and to discuss it, because a lot of people get confused by these things. They're, as I say, they are only human,
Yes.
right? They are only human. So
Yes. Bless your heart, Alex. Thank you for your
thank
time
you.
today. We'll talk to you again. Thank you. Oh, a little bit sad. It really is, because I know some of you out there, you know someone that maybe once made or took made, and it's heartbreaking for families. I had this happen to close personal friends, just out of my friend's ability to control. It just decisions were made, and You can't stop it. And help us, Lord. All right. So I am watching what's going on in the United States, and it is super fun. So I was watching Donald Trump's speech yesterday, and it was absolutely amazing. But so you know what happened, right, with this comment that Joe Biden made, that basically all the supporters of MAGA, of Donald Trump, are garbage. Nice, nice, nice. And Nazis and Hitler fans. So it's really backfiring on the Democrats. Pretty funny. It's kind of like Hillary's comment where she called everyone deplorables. It's kind of like when Obama made a mistake when he was talking about, their guns and Bibles. So take a look at Donald Trump in a garbage truck explaining about the Puerto Rico joke.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden. Please.
You owe the people of Puerto Rico an apology for what the comedian said.
No, I love Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico loves me. I don't know anything about a comedian. I love Puerto Rico. Nobody's done more for Puerto Rico than me. I took care of them when they had the big hurricanes, and nobody gets along better with Puerto Rico and the Puerto Rican people than me. They love me and I love them. I don't know anything about the comedian. I don't know who he is. I've never seen him. I heard he made a statement, but it was just a statement that he made. He's a comedian. What can I tell you? I know nothing about him. I don't know why he's there. You put comedians up, and I guess he went on earlier in the show. I don't know who he is.
That comedian, I don't know if he'll ever get work again. Oh, hard, very difficult thing. Very difficult thing. But apparently Puerto Ricans were not even offended by it. I saw a whole bunch of clips. They're like, we don't care. We love Donald Trump. Like, whatever. I mean, Puerto Rico may have its problems, which maybe this comedian in a really ill thought out way was saying something about. But so here we have a garbage Force One truck driver recounting his experience driving around with Donald Trump.
So I had a few people reach out, so I figured I'd jump on here and just let everybody know that was me driving President Trump's garbage truck. There's me with Vivek right there, but I gotta say it was an honor and a privilege to drive Garbage Force One. President Trump is just a normal, everyday guy. He hopped in, no problem. He looked at me, he said, give me one of these right here, and we don't have one of these, we have one of those. So I honked a couple times and he laughed. He said, how about we take this bad boy through McDonald's? And I said, sir, I don't think she'll fit in the drive-thru. He said, it's all right, I used to work there. And he turned to me and he said something, and I'm getting chills just thinking about it. He said, this is really sticking it to Joe Biden. I said, yes, sir, it is.
Yes, it is. Oh my goodness. I absolutely love that. And I think this is showing the human side. They're trying to demonize Donald Trump and turn him into some Hitler Nazi guy, which is absolutely false, false, false. And if somebody only watches CNN, man, they're being trained to hate, trained to hate. It is not the campaign of joy anymore at all. All right. So I just laughed out loud at Donald Trump yesterday, sort of recounting to thousands of people what had taken place with the vest. Take a look.
And then I got in the car and I'm driving over here and I have this still on. And I come into the arena and I say, where's my jacket? I want to get out of this thing. And they said, it would be unbelievable if you could wear it on stage. I said, and I said, no way. I got 25,000 people standing outside. I got all these people here. There's no way I'm wearing it on stage. They said, oh, okay, sir. I said, get me my jacket. But if you did, it actually makes you look thinner. I said, oh. And they got me. I said, I want to wear it on stage. When they said I look thinner, I said, in that case, I'll wear it on stage.
I mean, he is so funny. I think Joe Rogan really pointed this out when he did his interview with Donald Trump, that Donald Trump, and I know this because how many times in the last 4 years or, before that, like the whole time we've ever known since Donald Trump decided to run, like this funny side of him came out. And once in a while, he's just so truly authentic. And I was laughing at another point when he was like, we just got to forgive Joe. I mean, Joe doesn't even know what he's saying anymore. And we just got to forgive him. I don't even think, he really meant it the way that he said it. We just got to forgive him because he doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know what he's doing. It's been that way for a long time, unfortunately. And, he's really a real person. And when you think of how they have tried to put him in jail, tried to bankrupt him, tried to hurt his kids, they've gone after his children in an absolutely unbelievable way. And now Kamala, she's all about, and he's got his enemies list and he's going to go after his enemies. He could have gone after Hillary Clinton. They were screaming, lock her up in 2016, right? What did she do? Well, she destroyed evidence. She had all those, cell phones. She had inappropriately a computer in her home that all kinds of secrets could have gone out to anyone. And I think they did. And she's a liar. All of these guys are liars. They are the ones who want to lock Donald Trump up. They are the ones who have gone after him with lawfare to the point where even the Democrats, I think, have begun to say, this is not okay what you're doing. This is not right. And they see it. And the hypocrisy is now showing through as they accuse Donald Trump of the craziest stuff. That is a man who loves his country and he loves God. He talks about God more than any president we have ever seen. He credits God with saving his life twice, 3 times. So I pray for his protection. It's about a week to go, less than a week, November 5th. Will we know November 5th what kind of shenanigans are going to go on? But it's looking good. And I'm praying for a landslide. I told my husband this, would you say it's like 2 months ago, JT? I hope for a landslide because people just ain't that stupid for this long. They begin to figure it all out. Kamala Harris, just word salad. She was born in a middle-class home. She has been unburdened by what has been. And we want to be unburdened by what has been in a big way. So, former Liberal MP, let's go to a little Canadian news. This is very interesting. Are you watching some of what's happening here? There's a little firestorm brewing. Former Liberal MP and now sitting as an independent, Kevin Vuong, questions Prime Minister Trudeau about Chinese spies in Parliament.
New Year's Eve, Canadians will be ushering in the Hague Commission's final report on foreign interference. But meanwhile, media continue to provide insight as to who are the infamous 11 parliamentarians in the pocket of China. Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister have trouble sitting at the cabinet table when he must wittingly know that at least one of his ministers is not working in the service of Canada, or is he entirely witless?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that was an absolutely disgraceful display of irreverence and unseriousness in a place that deserves a serious contemplation of issues of national security. But it doesn't surprise me he's choosing to sit with the Conservative Party of Canada because their leader won't even get the necessary clearance to get the necessary briefing to keep Canadians safe. It's irresponsible.
Thank you for keeping us safe, Mr. Trudeau. We just wish that you'd answer some questions. How many scandals has there been that the Prime Minister has been involved in? And I'm not sure, but people, even Liberals, are distancing themselves from the Prime Minister. And I find this to be a really satisfying and wonderful thing. There was a lady, and she was saying that he is deliberately, right here, I have that share up. Justin Trudeau is spoiling for a fight, even if it means taking his party down. It does appear that for some reason, he's not willing to just kind of let it go, you know? He's not willing to back down when he's made a mess of the world, just as the Biden Build Back Better buddies have all made a mess of each of the countries that they were in charge of over the COVID, over, the inflation, the spending, trying to destroy countries from within, literally spending money that nobody has. I mean, either it's complete arrogance and, just being full of themselves, or there's a plan to literally destroy the world, to destroy countries, to have all of these open borders. They've all done the same thing. And people who love their countries, and we have, an interview with Maxime Bernier, where we talk about these immigration issues. If you love your country, you don't want it overrun with people that you don't know where they're from, who they are. Nobody wants this. You don't want a country that cannot manage. The medical system cannot manage what's been happening to us. Just crazy. So a lot going on, and it's been a lot of fun. I just want you to know that, we're now into our second week of Daystar. And this has been a huge undertaking by JT and I. And we've absolutely loved it. And I told you yesterday that the work has been a little more than we thought. We had some problems getting the workflow, because it's a lot to do what we do here every day, which we're not going anywhere because I love this. Like, none of this stuff can go on to Daystar because it dates the show, and Daystar is, shot in advance. But what Daystar does have is powerful programming where we're telling the truth. We're not being shadow banned. They can't get rid of us. They can't take us down. We can basically get into 9 million homes in Canada with the truth. And we can affect people that way. And we can talk about what's happening. And so many of you have decided that this is a significant venture that you want to participate and support us in. And we appreciate it so very, very much. I absolutely loved Alex's love for life. And that is really what God is all about. I appreciate him investing his life in helping people to live better. And that's what God is all about. That is how beautiful God is. So we thank you, all of you that join us every day, that love this kind of programming. Thank you for supporting us, for taking care of us, for sending us love and prayers on the many different ways that you can connect with us. My website is Laura-Lynn.tv, and we appreciate you. We gave the website, we've started to kind of change a few things, gave it a little update, and now the button is yellow. I don't know what it'll be tomorrow, but today it's yellow. And when you go to Laura-Lynn.tv, there are all the ways that you can help us to do what we do. One of the easiest ways is to click on the button, and it goes to Canada Helps, and you're able to donate anonymously, monthly, a one-time donation, great or small, it is helping us, because we are not getting any of that Trudeau money that goes to the legacy media. We do not qualify, mainly because we tell the truth here. So we don't get those funds to help us. And we appreciate that you support us and you love us. We have a mailbox, which is P.O. Box 1065, Vedder Crossing, Chilliwack, BC, V2R3N7. You can also give us a call at 1-800-437-4356. We would love to pray with you. We would love to connect with you, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And if you want to send an e-transfer or contact me, llttlive@pm.me. llttlive@pm.me. Works every time. And we thank you and we bless you in Jesus' name. I want to just leave you with some scriptures today. we need to remember this. Psalms 37. I got my larger print, so this will be okay. I don't need to wear my glasses for this one. Do not fret because of those who are evil. And don't be envious of those who do wrong. For like the grass, they will soon wither. Like green plants, they will soon die away. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Amen. Wouldn't it be great if everyone that wanted to die got read that portion of scripture in the hospital? If every doctor were letting them know, listen, have you been trusting in God before we inject you and kill you? I just want to ask, have you been trusting in the Lord and doing good? Have you been dwelling in the land and feeling that safety? Have you been taking delight in God? Because then he says and promises that he will give you the desires of your heart. I know this is true. Do you know how I know? Because everything good that has ever happened to me has been because I chose to trust God. People told me I couldn't do it. People didn't believe in me. Sometimes it's sad that, your close circle doesn't really honor your calling. It's okay. I trusted God. I knew when he spoke many years ago, when he asked me to be faithful, to tell people about Jesus on television. I did it, even if it looked impossible. I did what was right. I let all my fear and all of the concerns that I had, I let them go. And I decided that if God had given me a mandate, if God had shown me the path, then nothing would stop me. No demon and no man could stop the purposes and the plans of God. And I wonder if more people knew that. I wonder if people understood how much God loved them, how he's for them and he's not against them. I wonder if people understood that when you give your life to God and you put him on the throne of your heart, that he is able to turn and change the circumstances. He is able to stop the storms that are depressing you. He is able to bring about a good conclusion to a crisis in your life, to something that's been harmful or difficult. He is even able to absolutely remove the scars that you wonder if those scars will ever go. God's able to take it away. Because when God heals your heart, he heals it better than any human doctor could ever do. He knows how to put that healing balm onto those places that have been scarred by the enemy's attempts to destroy you. And when he does that, it just gives you new flesh. He's for us. He's not against us. We choose life, and that more abundantly. God bless everyone. See you soon. It's not easy to deliver the truth of what our sick world is doing, but for some of us, we feel that we have no choice. Because if we are silent about these abominable things, then we are letting evil go unchecked, and we cannot do that. For those of you wonderful people who are writing me and are sharing your encouragement, I am deeply grateful. Thank you for all the letters that you've been sending. Thank you for the donations and the support. I found out that in order to speak the truth, you have to become very, very strong. If you would go to my website at www.laura-lynn.tv, you'll find all of the ways that you can contact me. Remember, my friends, all is well. All is well. Thanks for joining me.